So, uh, I'm James Ford, and I have the privilege of being guiding teacher with the Moon Zen Sangha, which is meeting for our Saturday gathering on the 1st of May, 2021. Today I'd like to reflect a little bit on a miscellaneous koan from the Haradhyasatthana collection. As I cross the bridge flows. I've been thinking a lot about what it means to be a person of the intimate way, a person of the Zen way, here and now. There is a vermilion thread tying us who are here to spiritual ancestors in Japan, no doubt. The connection is profound and strong. That thread, I don't think it actually can be torn. And really, strands of that same thread from Korea and Vietnam weave together to make who we are, perhaps making it all even stronger. And each of those threads trace back to China, our mother for this way. But she has a mother as well. The thread continues back to India and dreamlands formed at the foothills of the Himalayas. This vermilion thread is precious. In its various wrinkles and twists, it has opened ways of liberation, of freedom, of the wise heart. And I'm so grateful. Originally, if you were serious about the matter, you would renounce family and would enter the Buddha's order. If you wouldn't or couldn't, you supported those who did and hoped for a more propitious rebirth. In Japan, in time, the institutional holders of the way would have a serious monastic foundation, but would actually live for the most part as parish priests. Something similar would also emerge in Korea. For both those of the first way and the second, with some expectations from the beginning with exceptions, practice mostly belonged to the professionals. But here in the West, well, dragons and snakes live together. The practitioners of the way might be monastics, they could be priests, but mostly we, are householders. The third way. As I said, I've been thinking a lot about this and how it's manifesting. With that, I was talking about a koan with a dear friend and student, Dana Lundquist. She has given me permission to talk about this. Due to past bad karma, she finds herself married to a Zen priest. But she's managed to avoid that particular entanglement for herself. For Dana, the way is very much living into this third way, the householder way, fully and passionately. I think about that word. In his novel Creation, Gore Vidal explored the axial age, that period when most of the world's major religions birthed. With just a little compression of time, he was able to let his protagonist, the prophet Zoroaster's grandson, visit all the founders. The only one Vidal really seemed to like was Confucius, and even he had to suffer at Vidal's pen, being given a horse-like face and chronic bad breath. But it's Vidal's treatment of the Buddha I find I have trouble forgetting. For Vidal, the Buddha's gaze was always middle distance. He never looked anyone in the eye. It is easy to read much of the classic Buddhist literature and get the impression the way is about disengaging. Float above the matter. If you don't care, you can't be hurt. I don't think this is what the Buddha taught, and it is obvious that it isn't the Zen way. But it is sort of a near enemy of the real way, a counterfeit of wisdom, and one that many who think they're following the intimate way actually embrace. We're about something else. We're about the power of passion. We're about not turning away. But we are not simply about sinking into the floods of the world. Our way is something a bit different. And this invites us to a koan, a presentation of the way, a story given to us as an invitation to take our part in the dance. Dance. Another hint. In our inheritance, following the koan reforms of the early 20th century master Dayun Harada, we begin with a koan that is meant to open our hearts to the mystery of boundlessness. For most of us, it's going to be the Mu koan. Mu breaks our certainties about who we think we are. If we are lucky enough to have that taste, then we enter the kindergarten of our way, a collection of brief koans, sometimes actually fragments of larger koans. Mu, however, is never very far from these miscellaneous koans, as they're called, but each of them adds new wrinkles, invite us into new angles, teach us new steps in the dance. The one that comes to mind here is, as I cross the bridge flows. The Zen master and Catholic nun Elaine McInnes wrote a small book about the miscellaneous koans. The title of her book was Flowing Bridge. I've always loved that title. Sometimes I think of it as the dancing bridge. Dana, my friend, she and her husband have invited a 4-year-old into their lives. If things go as they certainly hope they will, before long they will have a daughter. As a result of this, when we were speaking, Dana yawned. She's not getting quite as much sleep as she has been used to. She wanted to talk about that flowing bridge. She understood its connection to Mu. Specifically, she asked, what is Mu when your time is no longer your own? She knew it was connected to that bridge and its flow, its dance, and it's a variation of a question we constantly encounter. I would say, especially for those following the householder way of Zen. What about when you're fostering a 4-year-old child? What about when you hold her and realize this is almost certainly a lifetime thing? What about the nightmares? What about the laughter? What does it mean to see beyond the separations and yet find you can hold a child? How does the bridge flow? Dana provided one of the answers. She said, my daughter as priority is Mu. Indeed, that bridge flows. Absolutely, that bridge dances. After we finished our conversation, I realized how much my friend Chris Bell is also on my mind. Chris is another person of the intimate way, a Zen practitioner and a Unitarian minister. He was also my intern many years ago when I served in Newton, Massachusetts. The church he ended up serving, the UU congregation in Santa Rosa, California, was actually the one from which I went to seminary, the church within which I formed my own vision of manifestation in this world. As it happens, in July, he's retiring. I've been thinking about the day he was installed as their minister. I realize all of it is sort of a commentary on the koan about the flowing bridge, the koan about taking care of a 4-year-old as Mu. He'd invited me to preach the service, and it was quite an affair. Among the dignitaries at the service was Santa Rosa's mayor, who talked a lot about the amazing venture they had done by selling their old building, buying a movie theater in downtown Santa Rosa, and repurposing it as this amazing center of spirituality and social engagement. Probably my favorite of the many things said, certainly the one whose words I most clearly recall and directly connect to all of this, was something Doug Kraft said. At the time he was minister in Sacramento, he was and is a Vipassana teacher, another follower of the intimate way. Doug gave the charge to the minister, part of the traditional service of installation. He framed it all within a reflection from a 20th century Hindu teacher that I was unfamiliar with at the time, Nisargadatta Maharaj, who said many interesting things, but this was the quote that Doug thought fit the moment. Wisdom says, I am nothing. Love says, I am everything. Between the two, my life flows. Let me repeat that. Wisdom says I am nothing. Love says I am everything. Between these two, my life flows. I found these words taking my breath away. You want to unpack what it means to follow the third way of Zen? You want to understand Dana's mommy Zen? You want to get the intimate way right down to the blood flowing through your veins? Let the bridge dance. Let it flow. It's so very important to cultivate wisdom, to see into the deepest aspects of who we are as we are, to minutely investigate everything, right down to the end, to the no thing, the nothingness of it all. Buddhist mindfulness practices like Vipassana and its cousin Zen, Zen meditation, with our meticulous investigations of the functions of mind, reveal much. But as they say on latest night television, or they did through most of my life, wait, there's more. Right on that call to cultivate the mind is another assertion, the assertion of the heart. Love says, I am everything. Here, reality as love asserts itself, and I think it reveals the missing part that has led many who began Buddhist practice, who only attend to the functions of mind, find they're wandering down wrong paths. It's not one. Of course, neither is it two. But we find the one, we find the two, and we find the dance between, the flowingness of it all. It shows us how to explain mood to a baby. It shows us how the bridge flows. Our way is all about the mind, and it's all about the heart. Between the two, my life flows. Doug wrapped up his reflection. I felt really inspired. I could only stay a little while as I had to drive down the 60 miles to Oakland, from which I would leave extremely early the next morning. I got lots of kisses and hugs on my way out. Then the rubber hit the road. Chris stayed at the reception for another hour or so. It had been a triumphant afternoon, the culmination of so many years of work. How could Chris feel anything but joy? Well, maybe a little exhaustion. And then, when he got home, he had a message waiting for him. His father, who was at dinner in Ohio at about the same time as the installation service was going, had been stricken with a massive heart attack and died. Chris had to leave for Cleveland on the next available flight. Dana's moon, Dana's bridge, is making a home for a child who desperately needs a home. Chris, flying to Cleveland. You and me, together. No doubt, the way of the mind is important, critically so, but we also need to find the way of the heart. There is a moment to remember we are nothing, how our being, yours and mine, rises and falls in and as something so much vaster than we can ever imagine, boundless. Awakening, as they say, is not what you think. And first way, second way, third way, are they the same or are they different? As we cross the bridge flows. In that moment of need, when your father drops dead, when your 4-year-old has nightmares and calls to you, it turns out the truth revealed by the mind clearly isn't the last word. Not at that moment. What is the last word at that moment is love. The movement of our hearts calling out to each other, our heartbeats finding a rhythm together. It's the weaving of you and you and you and me and me and me into a tapestry that is the cosmos. It is the secret of the vermilion thread, flowing and dancing, so terrible, so beautiful. From one pole to the other and then back again. Wisdom says, I am nothing. Love says, I am everything. Between the two, my friends, between the two. As you cross the bridge flows.